government officials insist that this...
That BNC Live has been following from the beginning. A father continues his mission to find out what happened to his son.
Daniel Robinson vanished in the Buckeye Desert.
Daniel Robinson went missing in the Buckeye Desert.
Urgent plea from a father who has scoured the vast Arizona desert himself.
4-year-old Daniel Robinson, and this is a very, very odd mystery.
Daniel Robinson disappeared on June 23rd in the far West Valley.
His parents, David and Melissa, need our help.
I'm David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson.
His name, Daniel Robinson. And leading the search, not law enforcement, but Daniel's father, David.
God knows how much we can bear, you know, and at times I feel like I can't really take but so much.
Where is Daniel Robinson?
And identify they were human leg bones.
But you know what? It's still urgent to me as a father because, you know, we found human remains out here.
David Robinson had only one thought on his mind as he drove the nearly 1,800 miles from his South Carolina home to Phoenix.
I had to find my son. I also want to thank the volunteers that come out here every weekend, volunteering their time. And, you know, without these special people behind me, I wouldn't have a search.
How does a young man vanish off the face of the earth? How does that happen? No record, no sightings, nothing. He's just gone. And when I say a young man, I'm talking about 25-year-old Daniel Robinson. He is the apple of his parents' eye. A young geologist, music lover, good-looking, great grades, the works. So why can't we find Daniel? I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. And his dad, David Robinson, is using the GoFundMe money to fund his own investigation and the desperate search for his boy, his son, Daniel Robinson, 25 years old. What happened to him? How did he just disappear? David Robinson, sir, thank you so much for being with us. Tell me, when you first realized your son just hadn't called in a couple of days, that he was truly missing.
Yes, my son, on the 23rd, I did get a call from my daughter. She also lives out in Phoenix. And at times I feel like I can't really take but so much more.
But in his weakest times, David says it's the volunteers that provide him strength.
You know, everybody know that I call them my extended family. And so this video is the same thing. We all here have one common goal, and that's to find Daniel and also to bring light what happened to other families.
As the Robinsons' extended family light candles tonight, their collective light shines towards that day when their question is answered and Daniel comes home. Josh Sanders, 12 News.
When the lights and camera turn off, I will be here. When the interest and conversation fade, I will be here. When there's no one around, a father will do anything it takes to be there for his son, to protect his family. Without these special people behind me, I wouldn't have a search. Hello, everyone. Dave Robinson here. I'm the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. Thank you so much for joining this unexpected live. I decided to do a live tonight to talk a little bit about my son and how you can help in my efforts to continue searching for him and continue to fight for his justice. Again, Dave Robinson here. My son, geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson, a native of South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. Went to the College of Charleston to pursue a degree in geology. He did that. He graduated with honors from the College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina. He then went out into Arizona to live and work, where he landed his first job with a company called Matrix New World, also called Matrix Southwest Groundwater. They hired him on as a field geologist. It's also called a hydrogeologist. My son, doing his job on June the 23rd of 2021, was assigned to two well sites. He made it to, allegedly made it to the first well site, and he did take pictures of logs. But he had the trouble when he went to the second well site to meet a one sole person out in the Sonoran Desert of Buckeye, Arizona. And he met the person on the side of the road. Is a road called Sun Valley Parkway that leads out in that desert area. He met him on the side of the road where my son followed. His name was Ken. Followed him into the desert. They went 1 mile west, 2 mile north to get to a well site where my son eventually went missing after 15 minutes. According to the only person who last seen my son, he said my son followed him into that desert. Like I said, they made it to the well site at 9 o'clock a.m. They had a brief conversation about the weather. He said some things to the effect of my son was tired and wanted to go back to Phoenix to rest. According to Ken, my son waved off to him, got in the vehicle, drove off to never be seen again. He said that he went out after my son to look for him after some time. He followed the tracks that he saw because he said one story he said it was raining, the other said it was about to rain. He followed tracks that he said was made because of the rain. Followed the tracks that he knew was fresh tracks. Followed that track, stayed left to it, to the track that would go down to the T-junction area where my son can actually go left or right. Left would take him back to Sun Valley Parkway. Right would take him further out into the Sonoran Desert. This is all dirt road. And he said he stayed left to the tracks leading from that well site and just to not disturb those tracks because he knew that this case, that the law enforcement would become looking and also this case would go national. He stayed left of those tracks. When he got to the T-junction, he said he noticed that the tracks was going to the right instead of the left, going further out into the desert. He said he then followed those tracks till it came up to a gate. And a matter of fact, a wooden gate, and that he got out the vehicle, opened the gate, went through the gate, went another mile or so, past the gate until he came into an open area where he went on top of a higher ground to see if he could see my son from a distance. He said he also took red paint, spray paint, and sprayed some rocks of red paint. So he can show law enforcement where the tracks led to. Also, my son, again, was not located, of course. As a parent, I received a phone call on the same day from my daughter who lived in Phoenix at the time. Her story is that she received someone come knock on her door. She answered the door. It was Daniel's coworker. This, to hindsight, this coworker is a friend of Daniel's, off the job friend. He came by her apartment. She was really stunned to even know how a person would know where she lived. He said that Daniel brought him there before, and he came to see if Daniel was there because, according to her, she said that no one had seen him since earlier that morning. And so, of course, that really startled my daughter. She called me here in Columbia, South Carolina, on the evening time and told me those things. She was really upset about it. Of course, after some time to get her calm, we end up doing it, make sure we're doing our due diligence. Called his mother, called his other siblings, called some friends, families, anybody who definitely would have seen that. She did the same as well. And also I sent her to check out Danny's apartment, make sure she took someone with her. And she did that and reported back to me, said, hey, look, the living room light is on, which was strange to her because of the daytime. First of all, the other part is that she's often there with Daniel, and that, she could see the light because of the blinds on the patio. But his vehicle was missing. The doors are locked, vehicle missing. Of course, still doing due diligence. Didn't want to panic, but I did want a welfare check based on everything she was telling me at the time. I reached out to the Tempe Police Department, who I asked to do a welfare check. It took me some time to actually call them. I say it took me a good almost hour before I decided to call, only because I was fearful because of the climate between police and people of color. I really was really worried that sending an officer into Daniel's place without supervision from me or anything would probably be not a great idea at the time. But nevertheless, I did call the Tempe Police Department, who took my statement and but did not do the welfare check based on the fact that I mentioned some information I learned from his job that he was missing near what is called the White Tank Mountains in Arizona. And when I said that, of course, that alerted the Tempe Police Department, said, hey, throw your hands off of it. It's not our jurisdiction. He went missing in Buckeye. We last seen in Buckeye. So the jurisdiction belongs to Buckeye. They gave me the Buckeye Police Department phone number. I immediately called the Buckeye Police Department at this point, because I looked at the time, it was over 6 hours since Daniel was last seen. That is something that's very out of place and out of character for Daniel. So of course, for me and everything we do know about him, no one heard from him. He'll tell someone if he was missing. It was obvious, and something happened. So then I decided to not just ask for a welfare check, but also put in a missing person report. The Buckeye Police Department told me I called too early. They have a 12-hour wait period before you can call for an adult that is missing. And so I had to hang up the phone, wait a few hours, and then call back to put that report in, and also ask for that welfare check again, which they called Tempe Police Department. And the Tempe Police Department went out to do a drive-by, is what they call it, a drive-by, shake the door handle. That's the stint they went. And my report came in the same very day. Once I was able to report, I was given over to a Officer Cruz at the time, who told me that he would go check the area, which it would consist of him and another officer going up and down Sun Valley Parkway. That's the first time I heard of the road name. That they were right up and down this very long road leading to one city to another. And they would go up and down that road at night and make sure he's not stuck on the side of the road. And that was the extent of that until, we had constant contact, the officer and I. But that extended until the fact that I got more information from Dane's job. They said, no, he was inside the desert, that distance into the desert. And so I reported back to law enforcement, no, we need to go in that desert to look for him. I spoke about his situation. He never been out there before. For what I learned from the job, that's the first time he's been out in the area. He's from South Carolina. And also the fact, I want to back up a little bit. Daniel, for those who don't know, I don't mention a lot because that's the way he grew up. He was born without a right hand. And that's something that don't come out of our mouth a whole lot about, because Daniel grew up just like anybody else. It wasn't ever anything that was a handicap to him, but I did try to utilize that as a advantage for law enforcement to act. He's out there, can probably fend for himself, those type things. Law enforcement told me, the Buckeye Police Department told me at the time that they cannot send a helicopter out at night. Helicopters can't fly out at night. Being a military guy, I didn't buy it, of course. But hey, I'm 2,000 miles away. I'm reliant on law enforcement, but they said they would do it in the morning. And I would need to contact the officer in the morning, though me and Officer Cruz were, communicating all that night, giving all the information we can to each other. Then the next morning came, of course, the officer that took over from that point said yes, they was going to have this helicopter search for St. Daniel. And I was very thrilled about that. Very happy that this morning I didn't stay. Of course, I didn't sleep that night. But later on, like an hour or so later, they called back and said, he said he wanted to make sure it wasn't said that he, made this decision. He said his higher ups decided that the flight was unauthorized and that, it was canceled. The request was canceled because Daniel's a grown man. He could disappear if he want to. So when I heard that language, it's for me, it was very indicative of what I see here when I grew up dealing with law enforcement. They wasn't going to act. Daniel wasn't important. So I did talk to another officer that, that said that he didn't even see a report. He didn't see any information. I did play that on things considered. Those who may miss it, I will be doing this again. Going forward, I will be releasing these audios from law enforcement. At this point, I have nothing else to lose with them, with law enforcement. I tried my best to work with them on a lot of things, but I will release those things because then I think the public can understand my frustration and we can put some things in fact, and we can kind of dismiss a lot of things we see in the police report based on their own words. So I will be doing that, but I want to say, Daniel, again, they did not do the helicopter search until I was already on the way. When I was talking to this officer, I was already in my vehicle heading towards Arizona to do it myself. Still talking to law enforcement, still engaging with law enforcement. My auntie, she lives in Pennsylvania. As I was getting into Arizona, she called me and said, hey, she was very excited. David, we have the bird. Law enforcement said they would have this Phoenix Firebird helicopter. That's when I first heard of Phoenix Firebird helicopter go search for Daniel. Of course, I'm very happy. Still there in Arizona. The first thing I did when I got there is address law enforcement on that. They said they did search for him, been to the well site and searched that area. And they didn't find him. They didn't find his vehicle. Maybe he drove off in some off path somewhere and made it to a major road and left the state or something to that effect. And then, of course, the first thing I wanted to do when I got to Arizona, after talking to law enforcement, my daughter and I did our due diligence. We must have checked every parking space. I didn't realize how big that airport is in Arizona. But we checked every parking space we could. We checked the private parking spaces to you name it. Even though we know Daniel would not leave the state without alerting the family, but we just want to make sure, just in case something happened, we just didn't know. And we did all our due diligence, didn't find Daniel's vehicle. It took a lot of money and a lot of time, but we did it. I reached out to the Red Cross and the NAACP for help. And because that's all I knew about being in the military, we always go to the Red Cross. By being a Black American, I reached out to the NAACP for help. Nevertheless, I was also there. The first thing is to, in those processes, were requesting to speak to Ken, the guy who said he seen my son last. And the reasons why is because, first of all, he said he seen Daniel last. The second reason is he was saying things that didn't sound like Daniel. For instance, he decided to come to this well site and he was very sleepy or tired. He wanted to go back to Phoenix to rest. He was looking strange or odd. The things that he said about Daniel's eyes, I looked into his eyes, a Black man at that. I looked to his eyes to see if his pupils was dilated. The only way he can do that is if he had a flashlight, and I doubt in many years that Daniel would let a person put a flashlight in his eyes that he don't know. The other part is the fact that Daniel would not go to the well site. In the first place, he was sleepy and he was tired. And he wanted to go home and rest. He didn't have to be at that well site. His position that he was in, he could have closed the whole thing down in the first place. So, those things didn't make sense to me. The personality, things that he said off about my son, his character, those things was not indicative of what Daniel would do and his demeanor and things that we know about my son. I'm a single parent. I know a lot more about my son than the person who met my son allegedly for 15 minutes. So again, so of course I wanted to hear from this guy. I did meet Ken. I went up to the well site. I talked to Daniel's company who set that up for me. And he was to meet me out on that shoulder, the same place where Daniel met him on the shoulder of the road on Sun Valley Parkway. We saw the vehicle come out the desert. While I was waiting, it was myself, my daughter, and another person. And as this vehicle approached, it was a white pickup truck. And the person got out. He backed his truck up to the gate. He turned the vehicle around, backed up to the gate. When he got out, I assumed it was Ken. Got my pen and pad ready. He walked up to the car before I can really get the car. He's pretty much yelling out what I want with Ken. And I got out the vehicle and asked him, hey, are you Ken? He said, no, he wasn't Ken, but he didn't want to give me his name. I still don't have the name to this date. But he kept asking me what I wanted with Ken, what I wanted to talk to him about. And I said, simple, I'm just Daniel Robinson's dad. And I would like to ask some questions from things I heard from law enforcement and, see if there's anything else he remember about my son's disappearance. He was then offered to take me to Ken. He said, I said, well, how far is it? Hearing that law enforcement said it was about 1 mile west, 2 miles north. He told me it's like 15, 20 miles out into the desert. I said, wow, that's really far. I'm not going to leave my daughter and, the other person here, 2 women at this gate while I'm going that far out into the desert. And so, no, I cannot do it. And he insisted. He reached into his vehicle on the passenger side and knocked all his garbage or whatever it was, eating trays, food trays, and knocked it off his seat and insisted that I ride with him. I did not. So he got in his vehicle, sat in the driver's seat. He called Ken. I could hear them, I couldn't hear the audio too well, but I could tell somebody was speaking. I can't say it was definitely Ken, but someone speaking, and he said Ken. And he looked at me, and then he put the truck in drive. He drove forward a few feet and finished his conversation with Ken. He pulled the vehicle back and then said, Ken is on the way. And just like he said, he drove back into the desert. A little while later, Ken came up to the gate. The first thing he did was got out of the vehicle, opened the side compartment, and put his hand in there and stood there as if he, in my opinion, as a military guy to watch hands, he was still threatened or something. He had a weapon. So I was watching his hands to make sure he didn't pull a gun out or something to those, some kind of weapon. After I spoke to him from afar, told him who I am, and while I'm there, to ask him what he saw, things like that. I could see his body language change. It seemed like he got a little relaxed, and then he got closer, and we continued to talk. Now, while I was there, some of the things that we hear in the report, and that's why I say I'm going to have to release these audios to you guys. But what I'm saying is these reports said something totally different from those things that happened on the ground. Ken, when I talked to him, the first thing I asked him was, tell me what he knew. And I promise you guys, he said this thing as if, like, law enforcement, I mean, word from word. Hindsight, it sounded to me like a rehearse, like it was word from word, like just exactly what Officer Cruz told me that he said, right? And I said, wow, okay, great. Then I said, well, kind of small talk a little bit, and then I guess he got even really more comfortable, and that's when he added all the extra things about staying left of the tracks and all the things I just told you about a while ago. And once he finished that, about the mannerism, or if I knew his mannerism, this, that, blah, blah, blah. I asked him if, I said, okay, well, how often are you here? Are you, at this well? He said, I've been here every day since Daniel went missing. I've been here every day at the well site. Oh, great. If you were here every day, you was here when the Buckeye Police Department law enforcement came out to the well to search for Daniel, and also had this Phoenix Firebird helicopter. Now, Ken did say that he didn't hear or see any helicopter, and he did not know law enforcement did come to that well site. and I know that is true. Well, I'm going to release audio to you as well, is the fact that Lieutenant Angel is his name. I was doing a live video with a podcaster named Gisela K. And, I had the podcast going on my phone, cell phone. I was pushing law enforcement, pushing Buckeye Police Department to do a assessment of a well. And he was giving me promises that they was going to do it. And he said he came out his own mouth and said, Buckeye haven't been to that well before. They would search it and everything else. But I have the audio of him saying that. So that tells me that, you guys, when you hear them say, hey, we searched that area, we searched the well site and all the stuff, that is very falsehoods in the report. So I tell people all the time, when you read, I won't say all police reports, but definitely Buckeye Police Department, take it very lightly to the facts. But the thing is, again, talked to Ken and moved on from that. I didn't have no reason to think, anything suspect of him outside of the fact that he changed his story and started adding all this extra fat that I thought was relevant that law enforcement need to know. I did tell the Buckeye Police Department, but you guys didn't read that in the report. You hear it from me because, again, Buckeye Police Department is very selective of what they want to say and what they don't want to say in that report. And so, of course, as time went by, every day, everybody, I can tell you this, since I've been in Phoenix, I had two dilemmas. One dilemma is how I was going to take care of be here, because I wasn't leaving. I wasn't leaving there without my son. We were from South Carolina. It's just not going to happen. But at the same time, I have a home in South Carolina that I have to take care of. How those two things can coexist. And, it was at a place in my life where that one thing, just haul off and selling a house or something and move, that wasn't even in the area to be able to do that. But the thing is, how I was staying in Arizona, my daughter told me about GoFundMe. I didn't know anything about that type stuff. And that helped me. They helped me stay in Arizona. The first thing, I reached out to the public and asked the public to help me keep my boots on the ground. That's the only language I really like to use because I'm military. Keep my boots on the ground, and the reason why I use the boots on the ground is because when I was traveling to Arizona, I treated my son case like a mission. That's the only thing that kept me from breaking down, stressing out. That's the only thing that kept me from getting emotional about my son being missing, is to treat it like I would when I was in the military. Treat it like a mission. I have to put the mission first and do my job, and that's find my son. So, of course, I needed help. You guys helped me out. I really appreciate that, those who did. But I can tell you I was out in that desert every day, almost. Not every day, literally, but mostly every day. I say at least about 4 or 5 days of that week with my binoculars. I wanted to go in that desert myself with my car, my four-wheel regular car. And Buckeye Police Department told me, look, don't go out there in that desert with that car. You'll get stuck out there. Because that terrain is, because when I'm looking at it with my binoculars, it looked flat. But he said these ravines, and they were telling me all the stuff, the dangers of the desert out there. Now, I can tell you, being a veteran who served in Afghanistan, I know the dangers of desert conditions. I went through heat training and everything else in the military, so I don't take those things lightly. And I felt frustrated every day. I stand at that fence and with that binoculars, because the only thing that separated from me from my son is the desert itself. I want to make sure I was doing everything I can to get in that desert. I already was sitting at my hotel room, setting up pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, because I build websites. I built that very quickly, put out information, got the social media platforms up to make sure you guys know about Daniel, that he's missing. But in the meantime, I was also reaching out to the community in Arizona, because I didn't know anyone, to find if anybody knew anything about that desert at night before I go to bed. I thank everybody who's supporting and reaching out and giving me kind words. But I also was doing research to find out about that Sonoran Desert, where I learned about the washes and the dry bed rivers and the prospect mines, the vertical and horizontal mines out there from the gold rush days, about the land, the battles between the owners of the land. I had to learn so much at night. get prepared to tackle that desert, because I was getting out there. I was going out there one way or the other. And I was fortunate to run into a gentleman who lived out in Buckeye, who's in the desert a lot, who knows that desert. And so we were able to team up, and he introduced me to other folks who was able to reach out to more people to say, hey, we're about to have a search. And that's how the searches for Daniel began. Excuse me. That's how the searches began. And like I said, I've been pushing and fighting for Daniel for, you guys know, 49 weeks, and we cover over 35,000 acres of land. But I can tell you, I want to back up a little bit again for those who don't know. Daniel, his vehicle, once he went missing, his vehicle showed up almost 30 days later on the 29th of July, excuse me, of the 19th of July, excuse me. The 19th of July, his vehicle showed up in a ravine almost 3 or 4 miles away from that well site. It was lying in a 20-foot ravine, lying on his side. Allegedly, and I say allegedly because we don't have any DNA testing to prove it's Daniel's clothing, but they want to push it on our family, says it's clothing, though my daughter see him every day and we don't recognize it. Not every day, but she see him almost every day. And but according to the police department, Buckeye, everything on Daniel, this vehicle lying on the side, and the way law enforcement told me the story is that the vehicle flipped and rolled and twisted and landed on the side. And the good news was that Daniel did not receive any injuries because we didn't see any blood in the vehicle, and he was wearing a seatbelt. And the reason why they know that because of the way the seatbelt locks when the accident happened. But they said the same breath that they believe he had a severe brain injury. That brain injury caused him to kick the glass out the sunroof the only way he can escape. That's why the glass was on the ground. Once he got out of the vehicle, when you have a severe brain injury, it causes you to have feel hot, make you feel hot, and make you shred your clothes off. That's why his clothes and everything on his body. Because then he stopped. He said, "Do your son wear boxers or briefs?" And I was looking at this officer, which his name is Detective Biffin. Like, what kind of question was that? Do your son wear boxers or briefs? And I was wondering what to mean by it, because how would I know what a grown man wear? And he says, well, everything on his body, from his underwear down to his sock, was lying in a pile, 3 feet away from the vehicle, and he had the safety vest was another foot away. Now, the other part of that is he said that he took his clothes off and put it in that pile, and he wandered off somewhere, and he hid up under a bush, a tree or something to cool off, and a wild animal got to him, ate him or something. The next thing they said to me was the fact that they feel that he pulled me to the side before he showed me the vehicle and said maybe he just joined a monastery and became a monk, to be away from his family, join a monastery, join a monastery and become a monk. Those type of things. So what I'm saying is, those are things that caused me to pause and to, of course, I'm not accepting that. The action of law enforcement at the time was for me to grab everything in his vehicle. They gave it to me the same day they showed it to me and threatened me and said, hey, you need to get out of this compound. If you don't, you're going to have it towed away. You got to pay storage fees. I have all these things right here, you guys, on audio. And I had to pay storage fees. And I don't have that conversation on audio, but I do have the response to that on audio when I had to call him back about how I was going to get that vehicle out of there. And he said he agreed, of course, to hold it for 3 days, but I called back about a tarp I wanted to put on there to keep the rain from getting, because they said it's supposed to rain. They said they're going to do it themselves. They'll do it for me. So long story short, I'm not going too far into this, but I want everybody to know the ins and outs about Daniel's case, why it's so important for me to keep, as a father, to keep pushing for those answers. Why there's so much things in light of what you guys may research and look into the Buckeye Police Department's police report. Like that, again, I wouldn't take it. I'll take it lightly. That report. I'm gonna give you the back history of the Buckeye Police Department. They had a Chief Hall who just retired. Got suspended for that department getting caught falsifying documents, falsifying records. Also, he got in trouble for engaging in business, not indicative of being a chief of police at the time. So that department have a lot of corruption problems in it, right? So what I'm saying is, when you hear certain things, and when I show you guys, I keep receipts. I'll show you some things, then you will understand the reason why I fight so hard. And some people would come off thinking that I am somehow anti-police, and when I'm not. I'm anti-corruption, I'm anti-lazy, I'm anti a lot of things like that, but I'm not anti-police. And I definitely know we need law enforcement, but the Buckeye Police Department is not the one to handle my son's case, and is evident because of things that happen. So again, even things like damaging the chain of custody. So of course I'm here and I'm tired. You probably can tell you guys I'm tired, but definitely want to continue this fight for Daniel, and make sure I'm engaging you all every chance I get, because it's important. It's important for me. It's important for my family that I keep you all engaged into Daniel's case. Meaning that if you can, please, when you hear me out here still talking, you see me running for Congress, that's one thing. But when you see me here as well, talking about Daniel's case, it's no. I call Daniel. You guys heard me say this before. I call him America's son, because what happened to our families, it's happened to somebody today. We have over 3,000 people go missing every day in the country, and it's not something unique with my family. But what I'm saying is, I have to look out for Daniel first. He's my son. And I'm looking out for every other American afterwards. My priority is to my child and my son first. And, so I have to be on here to talk to you all and say, hey, please continue to share Daniel's story. Please talk about his story. Keep it there, because there's a lot of information there that I've been fighting for years now to get law enforcement to do the simple, basic things. Like the forensics on the vehicle. You guys were reading the report and they patting themselves on the back for something I asked them to do. I didn't know what to ask. I asked them in a meeting to do fingerprinting. I said, because we had an argument with the detective Hanneman, his name, sergeant of the detectives. I was in that meeting. I asked them a question. I say, well, how y'all know my son even was driving that vehicle? My mind is here. I'm not an unintelligent person. And they came out with a smart remark. The Hanneman guy was like, well, it's your son's vehicle. It's obvious he was driving it. What law enforcement would say something like that, or think I'm some dummy or something? How would you know without doing the proper forensics work? So I got frustrated. To make a long story, I got frustrated in that meeting, and I yelled out that I want them to do something. Y'all gonna do some type of forensics on my work. I have a recording as well. I released that Detective Biffin telling me the reason why he didn't feel the need to do any forensics on the scene of the crime scene. They removed that vehicle without doing those proper things, and refused to do it. And I asked for it. Instead of doing the fingerprinting, I guess they come out and they report saying they swapped the steering wheel, the shifter, and the steering wheel shifter, and the shifter and the door handle. And to them, that's doing forensic work. That's enough for Daniel Robinson. We're not going to check the airbags that hit somebody in the face is deployed. We're not going to check the airbags on the passenger side as well, because all the airbag deployed signifying that somebody was sitting in the passenger side as well. We're not going to check the red transfer paint where it came from on the side of the vehicle. We're not going to check the damage on the vehicle that don't match the terrain. We're not going to check the reason why that vehicle will be cranked up 46 times after airbag deployment, right? Could you imagine that vehicle being cranked up 46 times while it's lying on its passenger side? That's inhumanistic and impossible for a person to sit in the driver's seat, press the brake pedal, and try to crank it up 46 times. First of all, why would they do it? So it's things like that, they're refusing to do, but they're put in the public. And I hate to say it, it may sound bad. Again, I'm not police bashing, but what I'm saying is it's also crazy because the FBI, the Phoenix Department, FBI, the field office, the higher up, Akil his name, Akil or something to that effect, agreeing with Buckeye. They did such a great job on this case without all those things I just mentioned. And the reason why I fuss about it, and I'm going to say this over and over again to everybody understand my position. When I look at the totality of my son, of course, I understand He's a Black American. I'm a Black man. I'll never, for all those 3 years, will ever really put it out as a race thing. But some things you just cannot ignore, because I look at it like this. In that same situation with a man out there searching desperately for his son, I have hundreds of Buckeye citizens, hundreds of Phoenix citizens, and people from South Carolina, everywhere across the country, citizens, without the help of law enforcement, not in a dime or time. Out there and there every week, we finding human remains out there, bring closure for other families. I saw the case for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and not one time did the mayor, though I went to the city council meetings to tell them who I am, and they know because we had CNN on the ground, News Nations, and everybody else, you name it, from Jada Pinkett Smith or whoever, just all of them, even Dr. Oz before he ran for office, out there trying to help me get the story out there at that point, even before that point. Not one time did the mayor of Buckeye, the city council, the city managers, though I was told those meetings, came out to say, one time, my condolences to your family. We're going to do what we can help, no matter as I reached out to them, those type things. So what I'm saying is I'm putting that out to say that not one time to this day they ever spoke to me. And the other part is the fact that if this was Daniel's vehicle, it is another scenario. I guarantee you, if it was Chief Hall's son, if it's one of his officers, I guarantee you they would not the story. I'm going to say the story of Daniel in a law enforcement's term. Law enforcement also went out to the desert off of Sun Valley Parkway around 9 o'clock that morning. He ran into the desert and ran into this well site to meet one other person. Saw a man out there, talked to him for a moment. The man said, "Hey, I seen the officer. He talked to me at this well site." He drove off at 9:15. He was never seen again. First of all, I'm pretending, hypothetical, some crazy scenario, because we know that first day they would have been out there looking for him heavily. But let's pretend he just vanished, vehicle and all, radio transmission, like my son, everything, the Uconnect wasn't working, like law enforcement said, couldn't get no grids and all this kind of stuff that the vehicle's made to be able to be tracked, but somehow magically it can't be tracked. Cell phone pings can't be gotten. We don't have no camera footage. Everything that was told to me and my family. Let's say that actually was true. It happened to this officer. Almost 30 days later, his vehicle showed up in a ravine, lying on his side. A police cruiser now, lying on his side. The officer clothing, everything on his body from underwear down to socks was lying in a pile. And also, excuse me, also, nobody seen him. No, there's some red transfer paint on the vehicle. And also that the officer was vanished and nowhere to be seen. Nobody in this world called Earth, can tell me that we would not have the FBI involved. We would have the every agency out there looking for this officer. We'd have also from South Carolina. We have a Richland County Sheriff Lott here. We're probably send some of his deputies out there to go look for this officer. It would no doubt been called a crime scene. It would have been no doubt they would have done the full workup on this vehicle, the full workup on this officer uniform, everything. They would not have grabbed the officer uniform, put it in an evidence bag, marked for safekeeping, and tell that family, I know the officer worked for us and I know he's an officer, but we give him his things. He's going to be back to get it. But I'll tell you one thing, you need to get the rest of this stuff out of the vehicle. If not, we're going to throw it away in the trash or whatever the case may be. It would have never happened in a million years. And so what I'm saying is I'm the kind of man like this. And first of all, I'm a father. I'm a family man. I love my family. I love my children. My son is a Robinson. And one thing for sure, I would not allow anybody to not serve the justice that my son or my family or anybody deserves. It couldn't even have been my family. I would be saying the same thing. But this is my son. And what I'm saying to you is that, you know what? I'm going hard out. When I see injustice being done, especially to my own family, I'm doing what I did. Stay out there for those 3 years in Arizona fighting for my son, right? Well, not being out there for 3 years, but you know what I'm saying. For 3 years now, searching for my son and fighting for him. I'm going to do that until I get the law enforcement to act the way they would have if it's one of their own. I get it. It's a culture that we got to break when it comes to law enforcement. This blue thing, because I tell you what, when I was in the military, we used to call ourselves green. But we also knew, for instance, we see a lot of police shooting in the past. It was really bad. We had rules of engagement. Many times as a gunner, I'll sit there in my turret and I would just be nervous. My butt cheeks tight when we're riding our convoy and I see over there, they're allowed to, you think we're allowed to open carry in South Carolina, in Arizona. They was allowed to open carry with RPGs on their shoulder. You know, they can have I can't think of the weapon right now, but they can have their weapons in their arm, and they can have the word Taliban on their robes or something. But we had rules and engagements, right? Of course, I was fearful that all he had to do is lift it up and start firing that RPG at my gun truck, right? So, but we couldn't shoot him down because I was afraid of my life or something. You know, we had rules and engagements. So I'm saying again, we got to break some of these cultures that we see, these excuses that we see. And the crazy part about it, a lot of law enforcement comes from the military. They know what rules of engagement is. And so, long story, you know, if you're a very fearful person, you're in the wrong profession. And also, if you're not going to do your job properly, you're in the wrong profession. Because the first thing, just like I'm running for Congress right now, is serving the people, right? You serve people, you don't serve yourself. It's not all about you. You step in a position, it's not about you no more. It's about other people. So I'm asking law enforcement to do the right thing when it comes to my son, my family, and, you know, any family out there that's not getting the same service as they would gotten if I was happen to be Chief Larry Hall at the time, his cousin or something, or brother or somebody, and Daniel was his nephew or something. Yeah, or I'm an officer, or the Richland County deputies here in South Carolina, and they found out, oh, that's one of our own son. We're gonna go hard out for this boy. You know, no, we should go hard out for everybody, regardless of who you are and where your status is, or who you are as a person. And I want to say that because we have 600,000 Americans go missing every year in this country, 40% of which all missing person cases of people of color. Yet we make only 13% of the population. And, you know, it's a crisis that's going under the rug because it's not affecting the entire country or demographics. And so we're going to have to change that. We have to change that and bring it to a point where it should be. Let's talk about those things. Let's be honest. Look, we got to find out the solution to these problems and find out why these Americans go missing of all races, why everybody's going missing at an alarming rate. 3,000 a day, over almost 2,000 of children every day. As I speaking right now, some families right now crying, worried, wondering what's going on about their loved one, confused, all of that. I know the feeling. I've been there. And, you know, it's not something that we can take lightly or for granted because it happened to anybody. It happened to my family unexpectedly. So what I'm saying is, you know, we have to continue to fight, continue to share a loved one's story, and make sure that we're just doing our part as Americans. So I'm going to share this. I'm glad I brought that up because I want to share this before I jump off. Excuse me. I want to share this before I jump off because it's important. And, you know, to constantly share a loved one's story. Share one a day. I tell people that all the time. Share a family, a missing loved one, American story a day. I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to go down the line. I have pulled a lot of them up. We have Anaya Robinson, ironically Robinson. She's been missing since January of 23rd of 2014. She is now 23 years old out of Riverdale, Georgia. Black female, dark complexion, 5'3", 120 pounds. Black hair, medium hair length, and eye color is brown. Last known location near River Run and Raleigh Hugh Road in Riverdale. If anybody have any information, they can reach out to the Riverdale Police Department at 770-886-3382, or you can hit up the Black and Missing Foundation, 877-97-BAMFI. Excuse me. Also, we have, let's see who else here. Also, Kyla Melendez, missing ever since April of 2016, 24 years old, out of Bowie, Maryland. Hispanic female, light complexion, 5'3", 5'5", 130 pounds, brown hair, and the hair length is long, and brown eyes. Less long location. Photos have shown age progression is 19 years. Kayla was last seen on March 30th of 2016. Anyone with information can please reach out to the Bowie Police Department, 240-544-5700, or the Black and Missing Foundation, 877-97-BAMFI. I'm losing my voice here, everybody. Also, we have Ali Gilmore, missing on February the 3rd of 2006. She's 48 years old, out of Tallahassee, Florida. Black female, medium complexion, 5'6", and 180 pounds. Black hair, hair length is medium with brown eyes. Last seen on approximately 12 o'clock a.m. at her residence in the 200 block of Lorraine Court in Tallahassee, Florida. Anyone have information can please reach out to the Tallahassee Police Department, 850-891-4200, or Black and Missing Foundation. Also, we have Madeline Doze, missing on August the 28th of 2024. She's 16 years old now, out of Houston, Texas. Black female, light complexion, 5'2", 115 pounds. Black hair, long hair length. Eye color is brown. Anybody have any information, they can call the Harris County Sheriff's Office at 281-537-9492. Last location was seen on August 25th in the 7,700 block of Huron Lake Drive at 555. Her family says Madeline has been reprimanded by her father. Her father left the house to pick up one of the siblings from work, and when he came back, she was gone. The family says the front door was left open, and another sibling who was at home did not know Madeline had left. And I said this before last time she was on here, is that she's a child, so we always got to say, regardless of the fact, we don't know the circumstances, whether she's a running away, for instance, we have to make sure we bring that child home. Isabella Robinson, missing date, August 30th, 2024. She's 16 years old now, out of Oakland, California. Black female, complexion is medium, 5'5", 139 pounds. Black hair length is medium. Eye color is brown. She was last seen at the 300 block of MacArthur Boulevard on August 30th. Anyone with information can please contact the Oakland Police Department at 510-238-3641 or the Black and Missing Foundation. Children alert as well. We have Dylan Hazley, missing on October the 24th of 2023 out of Aiken, South Carolina. And this is something that's really hit home as well. We have a lot of people here in South Carolina. I remember when I first looked at it this year, I think was at, I want to make sure I'm right, it's a little over 200 missing, and that was in March. And we don't know the numbers now. I didn't check lately, but those numbers climb, they don't go down. But Mr. Hazley here, been missing ever since October the 24th of 2023 out of Aiken, South Carolina. He is now 16 years old. Dylan may still be in the local area. Anybody have information can reach out to the Aiken Police Department of South Carolina, area code 803-642-7620. Also, we have here Germany Mills. He's been missing ever since June the 29th of 2024. He's out of Blythewood, South Carolina. His age is 17 years old. He's a black male. And I think they have some extra photos here, but you can again reach out to the Richland County Sheriff's Office in South Carolina. It's the area code 803-576-3000. We also have here Desaya Phillips. We've been missing her since February the 8th of 2024 from Columbia, South Carolina, right here in my hometown. Age 16 years of age, 16 years of age, Black female. And I believe they have the same information there. If you have information, reach out to the Richland County Sheriff's Office, 803-576-3000. Also, we have here Maya Allen. She's missing on August the 30th of 2024, and that was really recent, out of Hartfield, South Carolina. She is now 16 years old, white female, and she's, say both shoulders are shown of Maya. Again, you can reach out to the Darlington County Sheriff's Office here in South Carolina, 843-398-4920. We can bring these children home. And lastly, I have Omaria Brown, excuse me, August 25th, went missing on August 25th of 2024 out of Los Angeles, California. A baby female. Amari was last seen on August the 25th of 2024. This may be in the she may be in the company of Sanaya Brown. And also associated with the child is Amoria Brown, August 25th as well, 2024 out of Los Angeles, California. Now 14 years old, Black female. And Sanai Brown, age 15 years old as well. And if you have any information, you can reach out to the Los Angeles Police Department at 213-473-3231. And thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you taking time to listen to that. Again, like I said, you can rewind us back and try to bring these children home and bring some closures for these families. Again, this is a family who have a missing loved one I own. I know the pain. I'll say it like this. I know the pain that the family is going through, and I don't wish that on anyone. Families go through this every day. Like I said, over 3,000 a day. Lastly, you guys, before I jump off, we're going to visit the Daniel Please Help Find Daniel website. Again, I point this out before I jump off because I need your help, your continued help. Sign the petition, very important to my efforts. Once I get past the general election, November the 5th, after the elections, my goal is to get back in Arizona. I definitely need you guys to continue to sign the petition. 150,000 is the next goal. I utilize this when I go talk to officials in Arizona to say, hey, look, I have 132,342 not people, voices of people, the voices behind me who says we want justice in Daniel's case. And we need justice. We're not letting this down. We're not letting our foot off the pedal. It's a grassroots movement that was started. I started years ago now, and we want to continue that movement. Also, I need your help with the request for flyers. This is free to you, a free service. You just fill out this form here. We have flyers sent out to you. And I truly appreciate it. I appreciate it because it's very important to get those flyers out in your communities as well as others. And people ask me again, I say it often, I repeat myself, but a person who has seen something that day can be reminded if one of those flyers end up in your community, they live there now, and you put that flyer out there and they see that flyer, oh my gosh, I was out there that day. It jogs their memory about something. That's all I need. Also, it helps with people sharing. When they see the story, they say, hey, I'll get interested. They look at the website, share Daniel's story. So it gives me eyes and ears everywhere. More leads may come in. Some sightings may come in. God forbid something happened to Daniel. I want to make sure that we don't, because we don't know. I believe that's foul play. Of course, there's evidence of foul play out there in that crime scene. It was planted. My investigative found that vehicle's planted there. So we know that something happened, right, somewhere else. And so what I'm saying is, whatever that means, foul play means, if they out there don't know who he is, or he's in another situation, somebody's seen him in that situation, and they see those flyers, they can know who to call, who to get in contact, those type things. And also help Daniel realize that I'm out here searching for him. So it helps in a lot of ways. It helps in a lot of ways, those flyers. So like I say, again, this service to you is free of charge to you. You can request these flyers. These flyers will be sent out to you. Excuse me, everybody, I'm losing my voice. But it will be sent out to you. Excuse me. And also, if you want to help with resources, though, because flyers do cost, you want to help with resources, you can print them out yourself. And that is a form of donation. So I always take this as a donation. I'll say thank you so much if you do this. You're donating by printing them out, because I know how it costs to print, flyers out, the ink and things like that, paper. So I want to say thank you. But that's the way you can help with resources. Lastly, you can also come down on the front page of the Please Help Find Daniel website. And we want to get justice for Daniel by keeping law enforcement engaged. Like I said this whole presentation. Look, when we sent out this protest, right? It's a mail-in protest, and it derived from when I was actually going to do a physical protest. I had people asking me, say, Mr. Robinson, I want to support, but I live in, Florida, or I live in New York, or I live in Maine, or some other state, and I can't come out there to support you on this protest. But I wish I could. I came up with this mail-in protest because of that. What it does is for everyone, to mail as many of these you can every day, all day, anytime you can, every month, whatever you do, mail them into this departments. And what happens is they see these protests. These are the same signs that I was creating when I was going to do a physical protest. I'm going to press on some of them. Buckeye. This is what they receive in the mail, and this is what I would have had on out there in the picket line, this picket protesting line. Buckeye, Arizona is in Maricopa County, which we know. Geologist Daniel Robinson went missing in Maricopa County. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office must fulfill their jurisdictional responsibility, open an independent investigation into the case of Daniel Cornelius Robinson. The other one says no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Now is the time for justice. That now kind of blend that out on here, but on the ones you print out, you guys should see that. Now is the time for action. We demand jurisdictional change. What do we want? We want justice. We demand a criminal investigation into the disappearance of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. When do we want it? We want it now. And it's sad, to this date, we do not have any criminal investigation. Justice for Daniel Robinson, missing on June 23rd. Our demands: the case to be moved to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. The case deemed a criminal case. Proper forensics on, and I'm still asking for these things, you guys. Proper forensics on available evidence. And available evidence is, I'm gonna jump this in real quick. Available evidence is what I'm holding, what I'm paying for every month. Can you imagine a family have to pay a bill to hold evidence that law enforcement should have in their evidence locker? They should have processed already, and things like that. Yeah, I've been paying for over 2 years now. 3 years actually, of forensics that I'm trying to hold on to for law enforcement to do the right thing and properly process these things, right? Still asking for that to this date. So what I'm saying is the reasons for reason for upgrade in status patterns are broken. Saying these are things we talked about. The direct Jeep Renegade evidence leading to foul play collected by Mr. Robinson's efforts and given to law enforcement. But yeah, I'm going to back that up a little bit too. I'm going to give y'all one more thing real quick, because that just reminded me of something I didn't mention. My investigator, he's a reconstructionist. He the one found those informations about the 11 additional. Everything you know about Daniel's vehicle didn't come from law enforcement. It came from my investigation. When I say what I paid for, as well as what I've been doing. 11 additional miles came from my investigation. Red transfer paint came from my investigation. Force six initial cycles came from my investigation. All of that stuff, everything that we know. The time, around 1 o'clock when the accident first happened, came from my investigation. Law enforcement contributed 0 to that information. Instead of embracing that information that we gave them, hard physical evidence, technical evidence from an accident reconstruction that know his job and know it well. We gave them the information to the Buckeye Police Department that we collected, showing them there was foul play, showing them that it was a stage event. And they held it for almost a month. And what they did with it, they didn't like it, obviously. They went to go hire a private investigator of their own. Now, this is a police department. Don't they have detectives? They went to go hire a private investigator of their own, an accident reconstructionist, right? You guys can see it. It's in their report. Some recon something. Hired this guy who's supposed to be this great person, great recon thing, whatever, right? Investigator. Now, if you're that great, right, investigator, how can you, or why would you insist on making a report to tell law enforcement, hey, I'm gonna do a report, I'm gonna do investigating this vehicle. Now I'm investigating this vehicle's accident, I'm investigating this vehicle information. What information he was going by? What information he was going by? It wasn't from Buckeye. Like, again, I'm telling you guys, they didn't collect anything. They going by what we gave them. And also the pictures that the Buckeye Police Department took from the scene without doing any forensics, right? So now they're going by that. The man has never one time, now mind you, this vehicle been in my possession since they threatened me. After they threatened me, I let them hold it for a few days to do that fingerprint and stuff. But what I'm saying is that vehicle been in my possession since, right? And to this day, not one time did that investigator ask to look at Daniel's vehicle, never touch it, taste it, smell it, nothing. Didn't do anything to it. Never saw it in real life. Don't even know what his paint job really looked like, right? Don't know anything. But made a full report about something he never seen a day in his life. And Buckeye Police Department go with that. And then to dismiss the claims about the 11 additional miles on the vehicle, right? This guy, as far as I know, went into a dealership around the corner who happened to sell Jeeps. I went to the Jeep dealership, right? Some dealership now, not the manufacturers, you guys, because they already know. And they would have said in their report that we went to the manufacturers, we went to the manufacturers and asked them about these discrepancies on this mile. And guess what? They know what's going to happen. That manufacturer would say, no, it's nothing, because we had to call it a recall. There's no recall on that vehicle. But some guy at the Jeep dealership, as far as I'm concerned, it could be a janitor or something. They tapped on the shoulder. They probably asked about 5-6 people till they got the answer they want. Yeah, that happens all the time. You know, that thing happens all the time, you know, and that's what they put in the report. So it's sloppy stuff like that, things like that. And that's not going to go fly with Daniel Robinson, not when he got a dad like me. Not throwing pat on my back. That's just who I am as a person. So what I'm saying is, when I look at that, I had to throw that in about the evidence and things we gave to law enforcement and what they did with it. They tried to throw it out the window, not considering anything. And when CNN, Sarah Seitner asked him, Chief Hall, about it, said, "What about this 46 initial cycle? We can't explain that." Okay, you explaining everything else. You're explaining a way that the vehicle's there for 30 days based on a hard hat with water in it, and it had a business card that didn't even deteriorate if it's there for 30 days in water. It's all of that. Make a long story short, I can go down that hole, but what I'm saying is that's what this is about, you guys. And I'm explaining these things because I'm planning on to continue on these things to consider that I'm doing right now to break down parts of Daniel's case in my own way, so you guys can understand that. But anyway, direct forensic evidence of tampering at Daniel's apartment that I gave them as well. I also gave them eyewitness account of my own, seeing 4 white gentlemen driving a vehicle that looked just like Daniel's flying out of that complex the day I first went there to go see his apartment after he went missing. And they don't have that in the report because I'm telling you, they're very selective. And also the fact that we have the evidence of someone searching through, thanks God, to a different police department, Tempe Police Department, that as a favor, we had a meeting with the mayor and the chiefs as a favor to me, Mr. Robinson, as they put it. They did the forensics, and we shared it with the Buckeye Police Department again, without Buckeye Police Department contributing anything. And so, gave them the information about someone on his computer at his house after he went missing at a certain date. I will not put in public right now. And also the information my investigator found at the apartment, evidence of someone searching for something in his closet and in his bedroom. Daniel has been missing since June the 23rd of 2021. No evidence of him being at or leaving the vehicle recovery site. And that's from the Buckeye Police Department on where, again, information they told me on the phone, Detective Biffin, describing that they had all these cadaver dogs that day, despite the fact that the dogs supposedly had been on training. That's another thing that would come out. And also they didn't find a human skull that we found later in that same vicinity where the vehicle was found. But they told me themselves, with all the cadaver dogs and search dogs, they ain't have no evidence, no footprints leaving that scene with this rain that's supposed to have happened. No footprints leaving the scene, no track. The dog didn't track on anything, which is contrary to the dogs that I put in my searches, that I had hired into my searches myself. 2 separate occasions, 2 different sets of dogs pinged on the same location of a tree, not too far from where the vehicle was found, but the dogs kept looking up the tree. But somehow the Maricopa County dogs and that the Buckeye Police Department used didn't track anything. Didn't track the human skull. Didn't track the humans. Because those dogs, that's all they look for. Make a long story short, so it make you question a lot of that. Call or text the tip line for everybody. But that's what these are, you guys. You're gonna mail these things in. If Daniel was a cop, what would justice do? We demand the same treatment. If Daniel was one of your own, we demand a criminal investigation into the disappearance of geologist Daniel Robinson. What do we want? We want justice, and when we want it now. So again, that's what these signs are for everyone who wants to join in on the mail-in protest. Please download it. Send it in as much as you can. Encourage others to do as well. I don't care if it's organizations, churches, whatever. We're trying to send thousands of them into those departments. Don't let them forget that I'm out here fighting for my son, that we are fighting for my son as a grassroots movement. Please mail in your PDFs to the addresses below. Send them to as many as you can weekly. Buckeye Police Department. And again, it's a form of donation. So I say thank you so much to those who've been doing this. Buckeye Police Department, Chief Robert Sanders is his name. 21699 West Yuma Road, Buckeye, Arizona, 85326, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Russ Skinner, who is an elected official as well. This Russ Skinner, he took over Sheriff Penzone, who retired or quit before his term was up. So he took the place of Sheriff Penzone, hoping to get reelected this coming fall. And I'm telling you guys, you might want to reconsider this. For a person, again, at least Sheriff Penzone, I can give him credit. Twice met with me in his office, even though he didn't keep a lot of his promises, but he kept some. And he at least talked to me. He gave condolences to my family. So I can't give him that. But this Sheriff Russ Skinner, to me, is the opposite. He ignored me for several months, gave me bogus that he's out of town stuff, though I knew better because I have other witnesses there. Like I don't have people that live in Arizona. And also sent me a generic letter to a family who's been fighting for all this time. And all I simply asked him was for a meeting. And the crazy part, because I decided to run for office now, is to do a Zoom meeting. And he couldn't even give me that. He just gave me a generic letter saying he's not doing anything because it's a Buckeye Police Department's case. Being that he's the sheriff of Maricopa County, which Buckeye is in Maricopa County. Everybody know counties supersede the city, right? And we also know the state police supersede everybody. So the thing is in that order. So he has a jurisdiction responsibility to my son, and he just pretty much slammed the door in my face. So I see him as not being the kind of sheriff that Arizona need. Again, he don't need that. I don't know who the other person is that's running against him, but I'm not trying to tip no scale and things like that. But I can tell you that what happened in this case, and to me, if I was still there in Arizona, and somehow I was living in Arizona, I was a voter or whatever, he would not get my vote. I can tell you that off the rip. But the thing is, again, Sheriff Russ Skinner, 550 West Jackson Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85003. We also need thousands of those letters going in weekly to avoid a cold case status. And that's the reason why I'm doing this weekly mail-in protest and asking you all to join in with me because, whenever there's interest, in the case, it's hard for law enforcement to put shade and say, hey, to the public, oh, this is a cold case. Give it a cold case status. We're not doing anything. Okay, so anyway, thank you, everybody. I've been on here long enough. I am tired. I have an engagement to be to tomorrow morning early. For those who live in South Carolina, excuse me, we'll be down in Aiken, South Carolina tomorrow morning. Blue Bash, for those who know what that is, in Aiken, South Carolina. And I will be able to speak. And also I have another engagement here in Columbia tomorrow for those who could be a part of that. It's Mom's Demand Action. We'll be speaking with them as well. So if you guys want to, if you can join in things, it's good to see you there as well. Meet you. So God bless you, everybody. Thanks so much. Don't forget, please help find Daniel.com website. Also, lastly, I had to throw it in. My run for Congress is because of everything that happened in Arizona. I've been fighting for my son, fighting for all missing Americans out here, all 600,000 that go missing every day. I can't help but do that. I have solutions to the problem, and I see legislation that can be done. Sad to say, I've worked with legislators and couldn't get certain things done, but I can. I'm not a person to give up, and I have those things, those solutions. And it's one thing about me: if somebody won't do it, I just do it myself. And that's my angle and my thinking when it comes to it. Like, look, if nobody's going to do it for the 600,000 people, I'm going to do it. So, and that's where I'm at. Also, in my state, for those who live here in South Carolina, I've been in my district all my life. I've been in District 6 and also District 2. 6 as a child, 2 as an adult, as a single parent, on to this day. I live in District 2. And my mother lived in District 6. So those two districts are very important to me in South Carolina. District 2 is important to me because I see the problem we have in District 2, and that is poor representation. We haven't had a proper representation for over 20 years now. And, and it's important for those who live here, like I said in my other forum, that, look, we all are volunteers in this campaign. We all need to go out and say, hey, because one of the gentlemen expressed to me, say, Mr. Robinson, I didn't know you was running. I just asked somebody the other day, like, if anybody running against Joe Wilson, and for those who don't know, who's not in South Carolina, Joe Wilson is incumbent who's been in office over 20 years. And he's the guy that yelled out to President Obama, calling him a liar, disrespecting the presidency at the State of the Union. So he's the guy who embarrassed South Carolina that way. And he's the person that, has not been representative of everybody, every community. And point taken is, I never met him in life. I never know he exists until I pretty much ran for office when he did that in State of the Union. I didn't know because he don't represent my community in our district. And the reason why I know that is because, I can't say I come from a marginalized community, been a single parent. I come from a Black community, and I can't say that some things that's indicative to the Black community is part of the district. We all are. It's no person you can just choose. I want to choose white or Black or this and that. If you're a representative, you represent everybody in your district. And twice so far, I've been out to 2 forums with the NAACP, who invited him out to come out and speak about the issues that concern us. When I say us, the community, the Black community, I feel like he feel like he don't need us. but we're part of the community. And he didn't show up twice. Right. So what I'm saying is, so far, never met him. I'm sitting on the panel by myself. Don't have the person I'm running up against to show up, you know. And so to me, it's a slap in the face to a community that he says he's representing. Also, the fact, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people support who they want to, and I don't want to lose support for Daniel because it's two different things when it comes to that part. But I'm saying I don't want to go too far in the political side of things. But what I'm saying is my run is from everything I've been doing for my son, because I'm trying to do everything for missing Americans. At the same time, it gave me the reason to do something about what's happening in my district. I was the person that was sitting in my district before my son went missing, probably with him, complaining about the things that's happening in our district, complaining about things I see on TV, things I know is going on, and just didn't have the drive to do nothing about it, basically. Just but look at the TV and fuss at the TV all the time. Sometimes God can take tragedy and make something great come from it. The tragedy of my son going missing caused us to bring closure for other families that we found out there in that desert. It caused us to reach out to thousands of other people to help those who are missing. You know, you just name it. There's a lot of things great came out of this tragedy so far. I'm not saying God caused tragedy. What I'm saying is he can turn some tragedies and make good things. Made my run for Congress came from that. When I saw a need that from this 600,000 Americans that go missing, and I found the solution that I know legislative wise that can help. And I want to be the one to actually do it. So I say I just do it myself. And that in turn caused me to not just sit at the TV anymore and fuss about things that's happening wrong in our unrepresented in our district here in South Carolina, and get off the couch looking at TV and do something about it, because now I'm in this position. So the point is I'm saying is I look at it as a big total thing. So when I talk about my campaign or talk about my son at the same breath, my run for office came from that. Came from the tragedy of my son going missing. Came from the tragedy of the knowledge of 600,000 Americans that go missing every year, 3,000 a day, over 2,000 children. So again, that's the reason why when I ask for support, you guys help me support with Daniel. I need my support as well for this run to get in office to make some changes. So, excuse me. So thank you again. I'll just keep talking. I'm long-winded. For those who are in the chats, and I wanted the opportunity. We're not answering questions. I need to get off. I'm losing my voice. I need a voice for tomorrow morning, so I have to do something about it. Tracy, thanks so much for being here. Good evening to you. LV, thank you again for being here. Lola, thank you for being here as well. Chad, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really, really happy to see you. I miss you and your sister, Chad. David, you should give a presentation at the National Geology Conference. There needs to be standard safety procedures for field geologists, and I agree with that. And we talked about that before when I was in Arizona out there. You was out there in the desert with us. But Chad, send me have your sister or you send me an email on that, what you just said, and we'll talk about it. All right. And also, LV, thank you so much. I'm sorry that you had to go through each of these hurdles. Yes, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, but you know what? I'm a fighter. And again, yes, LE do need to read. They should have done that a long time. Sure. Again, that's part of what I'm running for, is to make sure those retentions of that data that these telecommunications companies hide behind, just to keep your data from you as a consumer, but they'll sell your data for profit. So what I'm saying is that's another thing I'm fighting for. So that's another thing. I'll go into something else about it, but definitely thank you so much. Sam, thank you. Keep searching near mine area, maybe in desert. Thank you so much, Sam. Dala, thank you for your prayers. Thank you, Beans, 1170. Thank you for your prayers. Tracy, thank you for constantly being here. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your prayers as well. Again, Beans, thank you for your prayers. Lola, thank you for your prayers. Everybody, thank you for your prayers. I'm a person that believes in God. I believe in prayers. Holly, thank you so much. Sending love. May all the lost and missing soon be reunited with those that care for them. Yes. and continue to pray for me because I'm willing to fight for them too. LV, thank you so much. Dina, thank you for your prayers. Don, thank you so much for your prayers. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Chadrick, thank you so much again. Thank you, Callie. And I miss you too. Yes, I miss all of y'all. And I won't put other things I say, but I miss all of y'all. Very good people, and always put a smile. Your sister and her husband definitely put a smile on my face. All right, and I'll talk to you all later. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining in on this live. Been longer than I really anticipated, but when I talk about my son, I get really passionate and get into it. So, it's a lot to be said. And when I get the time, like I said, I'm gonna do this whole bit thing again. Put a little bit of pieces of things so you guys can see it. Things to consider is what it's called, and you guys will see when it comes up. Where I'm sharing audio, I'm sharing some things that you guys have never seen before, even news folks haven't seen before. I'm going to share that here in my own way. I also planning to share my last conversation with my son. I'm doing a lot of editing to that, like I told someone I did an interview today with concerning Daniel's case. And the reason why I'm doing a lot of editing, because my son and I, we have our blunt and open conversations with each other. And, my conversation with Daniel is 2 hours long. And so what I want to do is just put in those relevant areas, and that what your guys would hear, Daniel never, ever mentioned to me. And this is the only time I ever heard of Caitlin, for instance, from him. Never told me that he was in love with this woman. I never had a reason to believe that he was in love with a woman he didn't know. So when I asked law enforcement to remove that from that bogus thing from their report, they haven't to this day. And also, because that bothers me every time I hear them in that report, somebody mentioning news folks mention that. And also the fact that, there was 2 people there that night that my son spent the night with. He literally spent the night with these people. And in his own way, I'll let you hear how he say he spent the night with this woman. And when the reason why I'm doing that, because law enforcement sensationalizing Daniel's case, even to a point to make Daniel seem to be some type of stalker. He's a troubled person. He has some mental issues. Daniel's a brilliant. When I say brilliant, I'm not even exaggerating. He's a brilliant scientist. Chad, you are too. Geologist. Apologies. You are a geologist, and you guys do a great service to this country, which you all do. And so what I'm saying is, I want to make sure that Daniel can say certain things for himself by you guys hearing his voice. He's saying it himself, and describing the events of that night to me when he met Caitlin and the other young lady. I wish he would have known her name, because law enforcement is hiding this person. You would think that for law enforcement to bring up all of that, would say, yes, there was another person there. This person said XYZ. If they said, this woman said Daniel was seen on her surveillance camera coming to retrieve his canopy, is something Chad might know as well. Geologists use these canopies to keep the sun off them. They're in the desert. He needed it for his job. She said he can come. You guys read a little part of that, but I want to see the surveillance of all of that. She said she had a security camera. Let's see the footage. Also, we want to see, what the problem for me was when I officer told me that night. And I'm going to share this recording with you guys as well. I was talking to the officers about that when it came to he was telling me about Caitlin, and he said he put it to me as if my son was stalking her, and she felt threatened somehow, and making her the victim. My son's missing, but make her the victim. And as a father of daughters, I'm a girl dad, and regardless of the fact, I know my son's character. But let's say I played the as a father is hard, but I also looked out for Caitlin as a female, because I have female daughter. And one thing I said to the officer, and you guys will hear that, is that I would let no man whether he's my son or not, treat a woman in a certain way. That is me. I grew up that way. I grew up in the projects, and we didn't allow that in our neighborhoods. A man dealing with a woman in the wrong way. And so I grew up that kind of way, that mentality, like, no, you do not approach women in certain ways. So long story short, I felt sorry for her. I said, well, and he made it like if he came back, pretty much they're going to arrest him, right? And so, but I started thinking about it afterwards, after I felt that initial thing on the fence. And I said, no, this is not Daniel's character. Everything didn't sound right. This is it was a hearsay. There was a lot of things that they put in their report that was one-sided. They just took the girl's story without any evidence. The text message you guys read, she uploaded this in herself. Law enforcement didn't get her phone to, this is what we see in the phone, put it in the system. No, she uploaded it to them herself. And that's the reason why, and they won't put us in the report as well, and they won't mention it, and they're not dispute me because they know it's true. That's the reason why her text messages don't match his phone record. We can't see what the texts say from Daniel's end, but we see when the texts went out and her texts come in. And they talked for a long time. So don't think they just knew each other for a short lived of time. They knew each other for a while. And those text messages don't match the time grid on his don't fully match the time grid on his phone statement. But law enforcement don't want you guys to know that either. So that's the reason why they'll put me into the mindset that this is some type of cover up. Because when they gave me the phone as well, the phone was missing the memory card. From Detective Biff, he said he put it in his back pocket. He the one that got that phone. It's missing the memory card that I purchased for Daniel. It's missing the whole phone. I got some of that stuff back, but his Google history, location stuff was erased off of there. Everything about the young lady was taken out. All their everything, text messages to you name it, was deleted. Except for her name and her phone number. I saw that in there. It's to this day still there. So, things like that. So it's a lot to my son's case that the public really need to deep dive into. And that's why I say it's called Things to Consider. I would be sharing those things to, hey, we're going to have if law enforcement don't want to do it, we'll have a public investigation and a public trial in the sense of the Buckeye Police Department. So again, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You have yourself a blessed evening. Again, as I always say, do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Do not go a day without telling your loved ones that you love them. It could be easily in the same position, me and my family. Sad to say, it happens every day. 3,000 again a day go missing. One thing I keep saying over and over again, you get in a conflict with your loved one, to say, hey, look, I'm not going to be able to talk to you right now, but I love you. You don't want to wait to a point where, for me, it was 2 days before my son went missing. Last time I couldn't look at Daniel, was on the phone and say, I love you, son. That's how I would say it. And, I love you too, Dad. That's the last time I could say that directly to him. It was 2 days prior he went missing. Everything else now is from old text messages, voicemails, I meant, and old videos, just to hear his voice so I won't forget what it sounds like. So it's been over 3 years now. A person's voice is easy to forget what it sounds like. And so that's the only way we can remember. So again, you guys have a blessed night. I'll talk to you again. Take care of yourself.